Welcome back to Cafe Racer Garage. I am Dan, and if you're building a Cafe Racer or any other style of motorcycle, or even thinking about it, there's a pretty high chance at some stage you're going to need to build brackets. Brackets to mount various things like your brake reservoirs if you change them or move them. Changing your speedo, you're going to have to make a bracket for that, or if you relocate it slightly, or even the horn relocation or changing the horn. So that's exactly what I'm going to show you how to do on this CB750. So let's get stuck into it. So that's the bracket pretty much done. I might end up going black with this bracket just to sort of hide it a bit. For the wiring, I do need to somehow trace it, maybe run it back on itself and then run it behind here. I might even run it up where this brake line is, to sort of run it where there's already a wire rather than trying to run it, trace it up here. Just keeping in mind that, you know, obviously the suspension is going to move. You need a little bit of play there. So I might put this at full extension by putting a jack underneath the bike. And then I know exactly where the suspension is going to move. So that I'll just leave a little bit of slack there and, you know, trace the wire up to where it needs to be. But apart from that, I just also need to put the magnet on the rotor here, stick it on. I haven't read the instructions, but I'm assuming you just glue it on, maybe with some super glue or something. I don't have any of that, so I can't do that right now. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. I think it looks pretty smart. I had initially started to make this out of stainless and then realized that this little guy that I'm actually going to put on top of it is magnetic. So I thought I'd just take advantage of that and make it out of steel. And that's what I did, and it fits perfectly. The idea of this is to just run some, a little bit different to my CX. If you've seen the one that I did with the CX, I actually welded it on here. I just made, I guess, like a C section, so up, across, and then down again, and just pretty much welded it to the frame. But rather than doing that, what I did with this one, just a little bit different, is I made the block, and I'm going to get some double-sided tape and just run underneath this. Some like really good quality stuff. The same sort of stuff they use on badges and whatnot for cars. So I'll put some of that under there, and that'll pretty much keep that there. And because it's a big surface area that's hugging that tube, it'll stay there perfectly, and then this guy can just sit on top like that. So this little guy here is actually a GPS sensor, so I can't have any steel on top of it. And there's about a gap, about that much, just between the back of this triple clamp here and the tank. So it's perfect little spot for it, so I won't have any metal above it. And that's pretty much done. I do need to shorten this cable because the cable that comes with it is ridiculously long. So as you can see, comes with a ton of cable. So that does need to get shortened because the distance is only pretty much from here to the gauge. Actually, no. Yeah, from here to the gauge. So that's something I'll do later. Let's move on to the next bracket. Most motorcycles will have a horn similar to this. This one has, or used to have, two, a bit larger than this, and they would sit right out the front. Trying to avoid having that sitting out the front if I can help it. I've spent a lot of time and effort to try and get this motorcycle looking as clean as possible. So this big area is open just to keep that Cafe Racer look, and everything's like hidden up under the seat here. So obviously that battery goes in that little aluminium box as well, so the battery's not even visible. So yeah, I've got to make a bracket for the horn. And rather than using one of those horns, I've decided to up it a little bit because I am going to put it somewhere hidden away, which I want it obviously louder. So the horn that I've decided to go with is this guy here. This is a Denali, and they reckon it's twice as loud as the standard horns. And yeah, I can pretty much vouch for that. I connected up to the batteries just to do my own little bit of a test before I fitted it. And I did need to adjust this guy here. When it turned up, it obviously didn't work. It just made this little popping sound. So as soon as I wound that in, this adjustment screw in ever so slightly, it started to work, and yeah, it is loud. So my placement for this, I've worked out the tank comes down like this, and it runs all the way along pretty much like this. So I can hide it and quite easily fit it right under there like that. This is the bracket it comes with. I may up that bracket a little bit or make it a little bit longer to be exactly what I need. I'll use it for now just to get the placement, and that's pretty much where it's going to sit right there. They do recommend to make sure you leave this open section facing down for obvious reasons, you know, water and whatnot. So as soon as that trumpet lets off its steam and it goes straight out there, you're gonna be able to hear it, and that's the main thing. So that's where she's going to go. How I'm going to fit it is just nice and simple, no welding, no nothing. I'm just going to drill a hole, tap straight into the frame, and then put a bolt straight through there. Done. Nice and easy. It's not going to weaken the frame at all because it's going to be a tiny little 8mm or 6mm hole, and then that's going to be tapped in, and then all I need to do is run some wires to it, and boom, that's done. If you're going to do any sort of fabrication on a motorcycle, I highly recommend getting yourself a set of these. Not just for motorcycles, they're super handy for other things. This is a metric set because all the bikes that I work on are Japanese, and the metric is perfect. They're not just handy for drilling a hole and tapping something either, they're also handy in case you've painted or powder coated. Say for instance you take the frame in and it comes back and there's a few places where the coating has gone all the way on the inside of the bolt. These are just super handy to try and clean those out, because otherwise you would not be able to get that powder coat out of that, obviously, the hole. So this will just, you know, to get the right size for whatever size hole it is, and then boom, you just clean them out. Like I said, they are very, very handy. So I've upgraded the horn on the CX500 build as well. As you can see, she's hidden away just down here. I've made a bracket. Once again, it's the same process. It's just a matter of, I actually made my own bracket with this one rather than use the one that was there because it was just a little bit too short. So I beefed it up a bit, made a bigger one, and then mounted it down there. So it's hidden. The tank pretty much sits here, so it hides the top of it, but the bottom section you can just see sort of poking out. It is blacked out, so it's pretty invisible to see anyway. So this here is the little eBay special. As you can see, it just looks like a standard horn, and that's pretty much what it is. And it sounds like this. Well, it actually sounds a bit louder than that, actually, to be honest with you. This must have fallen off. There we go. And it sounds like this. Which, you know, for a single horn, that's all you're really going to get out of it. Now, if you compare that to the Denali, that's supposed to be the finale of horns, which is just up here. So you're probably not going to realize how loud that actually is, but I can tell you that is stupidly loud, which is perfect. So this is the first one that I did, and I made a mistake and I ended up cutting it the wrong way. So what I've got to do now is either weld it together or make a new one. And it's literally just 2 holes and a bit of cutting, so screw it, I'm going to make another one. If there's anything that I'm going to change here at a later stage, or I may or may not, I don't know. I wish this was just a little bit smaller. When I first ordered it, I didn't realize the size of it. I think it's about 55 millimeters. I wish it was around the 40 mil. It's not, like I said, it's not a big deal, but if I do change anything, that's what I'll probably change, because I was hoping for something a little bit smaller, and it is my own fault. I didn't actually check the size when I ordered it. I just assumed it was going to be smaller, but it looks pretty cool. It does the trick, and the main thing is I shared the process on how to make a bracket, so if you want to make one for yourself, that's a simple way to do it. So one bracket I do want to bring to your attention is this guy here. This is the ignition barrel bracket, which I did just recently. Why I want to tell you about this is because there's two things that I want to mention. One, I'm going to cut it about there, and I'm going to put 2 bolts in and make it removable. That'll allow me to get a little bit more clearance room to take this engine out if I ever need to. Something that I thought about later after I made it, and I actually didn't get any comments. No one actually mentioned that in the comments, but what people did mention is the fact that I'm going to burn my fingers because it's directly above the exhaust. It's going to get really hot up there. People asking why I moved it. The main reason why I moved this was to make it nice and neat up here. So there's no messiness up there with the ignition barrel or anything. Not that it's messy, it's just I wanted it away from there. I wanted minimal things up the top. So that's why I brought it down here. Now this is only an emergency. I won't be using this unless I desperately have to. So my fingers are never going to be in here. I probably have the key on me all the time just in case, but I'm never actually going to use it. Because this bike has a thing called keyless go, I just have to have my phone on me and boom, I can start the bike. So hopefully you've enjoyed this video, and if you are building a bike and you're having some struggles, leave me a comment and let me know what the biggest struggles are that you're having with building a motorcycle right now. And if you have a next video idea, make sure you leave it in the comments as well. If you've enjoyed this video and you want to see more like this, I put together a short little playlist for you of videos very similar. So all you got to do is click here and I'll see you in the next video.